There are moments in life when everything seems quiet, too quiet, as if heaven has gone silent. You pray, and the answers seem to echo back with no reply. You give, yet see no return. You stay faithful, yet the path grows darker. In these seasons, you may begin to wonder if heaven has forgotten you. But listen carefully. Silence is not absence. Delay is not denial. What looks like stillness on the surface is often preparation beneath. God is not idle, He is intentional, and in this very hour, something sacred is stirring, a shift is forming, one so divine, so profound, it will catch even you by surprise. The favor God is pouring on you is not ordinary favor. It's not the kind you can measure in numbers or comprehend with reason. This favor is disruptive. It interrupts cycles. It breaks generational curses. It shifts atmospheres. It silences enemies. It reorders destinies. Have you ever seen a field right before a storm? The air thickens. The clouds gather. The earth waits in hushed anticipation. That's the realm you're living in right now. Everything may seem calm on the outside, but in the spiritual realm, thunder is preparing to roll in your favor. The enemy may be smiling now, assuming you're forgotten. But what they do not know is that the king is preparing a table, and your name is carved into the wood. Favor is not just blessing, it is divine alignment. It is when heaven leans in and begins to press its power into your situation. Doors begin to open that no man can shut. People who once ignored you are now drawn to you. Where there was lack, there is sudden abundance. Where there was sickness, healing begins to blossom. The shift doesn't happen because you earned it. It happens because God chose you. And He didn't choose you because you were perfect. He chose you because you were faithful. Because you kept walking when your feet were bleeding. Because you kept praying when your soul was dry. Because you praised Him when there was nothing left to praise with. You didn't just survive. You honored Him in your survival. And now your time has come. The favor He's about to pour will make no logical sense. It will embarrass those who doubted you and elevate you in rooms where you were once invisible. It will promote you beyond your qualifications and bring opportunities that bypass every system and expectation. It is the kind of favor that Joseph experienced when he went from the pit to the palace. It's the kind of favor Esther received when she walked into the king's court uninvited and walked out crowned. It's the kind of favor that breaks protocol because heaven has spoken a different decree. But be warned, this kind of shift will not sit well with everyone around you. Favor is a revealer. It exposes jealousy. It unsettles the comfortable. It provokes the prideful. You will find that not all who clapped for you in the valley will rejoice with you on the mountain. That is why God has been pruning your circle in silence. Some losses were protection, some rejections were redirections, because when this shift arrives, it will demand a new level of focus and purity that only the prepared can carry. This favor will not just change your finances, it will touch every area of your life. Your relationships, your purpose, your influence, your peace. It is total transformation, not cosmetic. The favor will not just be seen, it will be felt. You will feel it in the way your sleep returns. You will feel it in how your confidence rises. You will feel it in how people begin to ask what changed. And your answer will be simple. God's hand is on me. So, if you felt the shaking lately, don't be afraid. If you felt the isolation, don't resist it. If you felt the breaking, don't despair. All of it is a sign that favor is about to interrupt your life with a holy force. You're not behind. You're being positioned. You're not forgotten. You're being prepared. The world may not see it coming, but heaven has already declared it. A massive shift is upon you. God's favor is not random, it is divine alignment and preparation. There is nothing accidental about the way God moves in your life. What may appear to others, and even to you as coincidence, is in fact a carefully woven thread in a divine tapestry. God's favor doesn't fall like scattered rain. It falls with precision, touching specific parts of your life at the exact moment they are ready to be transformed. And that favor is not random. It is alignment. It is purpose meeting preparation. It is divine intention meeting human faithfulness. Many people think favor is simply getting what they want. But true favor is not about instant gratification. It's about eternal orchestration. It means God is arranging circumstances, people, and timing to bring your life into perfect harmony with His will. That means sometimes you won't see the favor in the moment. It will look like rejection, delay, or even pain. But in the unseen realm, things are moving like stars aligning in the night sky. The favor of God is drawing every piece of your life into a divine order. The truth is, God's favor often begins to operate in secret. It doesn't make a grand entrance. It shows up quietly in the decision you made to forgive instead of hate, in the silent tears that you turned into prayer, in the long nights when you stayed faithful even though no one noticed. All of these are markers of alignment, where your heart began to match heaven's rhythm. And when your heart aligns, your life follows. That's why some things had to be stripped from you. Certain people had to walk away. Certain doors had to slam shut. Not because God was punishing you, but because He was aligning you. You see, you cannot carry divine favor with earthly baggage. You cannot step into a heavenly assignment with unhealed wounds. Alignment demands transformation. And favor doesn't just bless, it prepares. God will not give you what you're not aligned to carry. Think of Noah. He didn't stumble into the ark by luck. He was aligned through obedience. While the world mocked, Noah prepared. He followed God's instructions when there was no sign of rain. That's alignment. He wasn't trying to impress people. He was staying in step with God. And when the flood came, the favor that looked foolish to others became His divine protection. The same is true for you. The instructions you're following now, the prayers, the discipline, the sacrifice, may not make sense to others, but they are aligning you with something far greater than comfort. They are positioning you for the favor that will cause a massive shift in your life. And when that shift happens, you'll look back and realize none of it was random. Every delay, every loss, every unanswered prayer, it was all preparation for the precise moment when God's favor would collide with your obedience. So if it feels like nothing is happening, understand this: something divine is. Not around you, but within you. God is aligning your heart before He aligns your circumstances. And when the heart is ready, the heavens respond. That's when favor flows, not as a random blessing, but as a reward of alignment. The shift coming will interrupt natural patterns and elevate you spiritually and practically. God's favor is not just meant to comfort you, it is designed to change the trajectory of your life. When He pours out His favor, it does not politely fit into the boxes people have made for you. It breaks patterns, it interrupts cycles. It takes the natural and overlays the supernatural. And that's exactly what's coming. A shift so massive, so disruptive, it will not simply adjust your life, it will transform it. We live in a world that runs on systems and patterns, some generational, some environmental, some internal, Patterns of lack, of trauma, of fear, patterns of being overlooked, of always starting over, of never quite breaking through. But when God's favor steps in, these patterns do not get managed, they get dismantled. God doesn't negotiate with your history, He rewrites it. Oksama Daserod. This divine shift is not only about breakthrough, it's about elevation. It means being lifted to places you were told you'd never reach. It means occupying roles you were told you weren't qualified for. It means rising spiritually, emotionally, and practically. The favor coming your way doesn't ask for permission from your past. It comes as a divine decree. God is not asking if you're worthy in the eyes of men. He has already called you worthy in the courts of heaven. We see this truth in the life of David, a shepherd boy, forgotten even by his own family. No experience in warfare, no resume for royalty. Yet when God sent his prophet to anoint a king, it was David's name that heaven had already highlighted. His shift didn't come with warning, it came with oil. It came with the divine declaration that the patterns of obscurity were over. From the field to the throne, God's favor broke every expectation. And that's what's happening for you. God is sending favor that will locate you even in hidden places. It will find you behind the scenes. It will visit you in quiet obedience. You don't have to promote yourself when heaven has already endorsed you. You don't have to strive when God has already spoken. When favor hits, it changes the atmosphere around you. People begin to treat you differently. Systems that once ignored you begin to recognize you. But more than anything, you begin to see yourself through God's eyes. And this elevation is not only external, it's spiritual. It's the lifting of your faith, your clarity, your inner strength. It's the silencing of shame and the rise of boldness. God's favor elevates your posture. You no longer walk in rooms hoping to be accepted. You walk in knowing you've been assigned. You no longer shrink to fit others' expectations. You rise to match God's declaration over your life. So prepare yourself, because when the favor of God shows up, it will disrupt the ordinary. The rules will shift. The usual outcomes will not apply. What stopped others will not stop you. What limited your family line will break with you. This is more than change. It is elevation. And once it begins, there will be no returning to the old patterns. Favor reveals who truly belongs in your life. One of the most unexpected truths about divine favor is this. It doesn't just elevate you, it exposes everything around you. You may think favor will only bring blessings, but in reality, it brings clarity. It reveals people's true intentions. It uncovers hidden hearts. It distinguishes between those who loved you for who you were and those who only stayed because you were struggling. Favor does more than promote. It purifies your environment. When God begins to pour His favor on your life, it shines like a light in a dark room. The light doesn't just show you the path, it exposes what's hiding in the corners. Suddenly, people you thought were for you start acting distant. Those who once celebrated your small victories now fall silent when God begins doing bigger things. It's not because you've changed, it's because your favor has disturbed their comfort. This is why many people confuse growth with loneliness. They wonder why, as they rise, others start pulling away. But here is the spiritual truth. Elevation demands separation. Not everyone can go where God is taking you. Not everyone has the character to handle your calling. Some were never meant to be part of the next chapter, only the previous one. God's favor makes that distinction for you. He doesn't just bring the right people, He removes the wrong ones. Think about Gideon. Before his great victory, God stripped his army down from thousands to just 300. Why? Because God knew not everyone with him had the heart to fight with him. Some were afraid. Some were self-serving. Favor demands loyalty, not just presence. And so it is with your life. When God's hand moves, it begins to test your circle. The wrong people won't survive the shift. The ones who secretly envied you will grow cold. The ones who manipulated you will no longer have access. It hurts, yes. It's not easy to lose people you once prayed with, cried with, or trusted deeply. But understand, favor is not loss. It is protection. God would rather expose them now than let them poison your future. He would rather shake your relationships today than allow them to sabotage your elevation tomorrow. The people who walk away were never your foundation. They were scaffolding, temporary support until the real structure could stand on its own. And here's the beauty: for every person who walks away, God will send someone divinely assigned. Someone who honors your purpose. Someone who doesn't feel threatened by your favor, but instead helps you protect it. These are people who can pray with you in private and celebrate you in public. They don't compete, they cover, they don't drain, they deposit. God's favor will reveal them too. So if you're finding that your circle is shifting as your life begins to change, don't panic. Don't beg people to stay where God is asking them to leave. Don't hold on to relationships God is pruning. Favor makes room for what's holy, and when it arrives, it will naturally divide between what was built on truth and what was built on convenience. Let it reveal, let it refine, because what you're gaining in divine alignment far outweighs what you're losing in shallow attachments. When favor comes, the real ones remain and the wrong ones are removed. Faithfulness during seasons of silence is the seed of this massive shift. There is a sacred mystery in the silent seasons of life. When prayers seem unanswered, when doors stay shut, when the heavens feel quiet, it is tempting to believe God has forgotten you. But that's never the case. The silence is not punishment. It's preparation. And in those seasons when no one claps for you, when no one sees your obedience, God does. And He is counting every silent sacrifice as a seed. Faithfulness, when nothing changes, is the highest form of worship. Anyone can be loyal when the blessings flow. Anyone can praise when life feels good. But to stay devoted when your heart is breaking, to keep showing up when there's no applause. That is what touches heaven. That is the soil in which God plants favor. You see, every massive shift begins with a hidden season. It starts in the soil of solitude, watered by tears, covered in darkness. Think of a seed. It doesn't scream when it's growing. It doesn't make noise while breaking through the dirt. But deep beneath the surface, it is becoming something unstoppable. That's how your faithfulness works. People may not see it. You may not even feel it. But in God's realm, every quiet act of faith is recorded and multiplied. Remember the woman with the issue of blood. For 12 long years she suffered in silence. No healing, no breakthrough, no favor. Yet she kept believing. She didn't lose faith, she didn't walk away, and one day, without warning, she touched the hem of Jesus' garment and everything changed. That moment wasn't random. It was the result of 12 years of faithful endurance. A shift happened because she stayed faithful in silence. So many people quit just before the shift comes. They give up praying. They abandon their calling. They compromise their integrity. But God's system is not like man's. His rewards don't come on demand. They come in fullness. They arrive when the heart is ready, when the roots are deep enough, when the faith is unshakable. The silence is not delay, it's divine timing. Faithfulness also reshapes you. It humbles pride, it purifies motives, it deepens trust. Without seasons of silence, we'd grow entitled. We'd forget who the source of favor truly is. But in the silence, God becomes real. Intimacy replaces performance, worship becomes authentic, and when that shift finally comes, you'll know it wasn't luck, and it wasn't man. It was God, responding to the secret history you wrote with him behind closed doors. Your sacrifices are not wasted. Your quiet loyalty matters. Every time you forgave instead of retaliating, every time you sowed when your hands were empty, every time you worshipped through tears, God saw it. And now that history is about to manifest as a shift so large it will leave no room for doubt. People will call it sudden, but you'll know it was years in the making. It was the result of spiritual roots growing in dry ground. So don't resent the silence. Honor it. Use it. Let it build something deeper than surface-level blessings. Because when the time comes, what you planted in tears will break forth as a harvest of divine favor. And the shift it creates will be undeniable. The favor of God transforms every area, not just finances, but peace, influence, and destiny. When we hear the word favor, many people immediately think of money, success, or open doors. While it is true that favor can touch your career and finances, the favor of God goes much deeper than material outcomes. It is holistic. It doesn't just change your situation, it changes your soul. It touches everything connected to you, your peace, your influence, your relationships, your purpose, and the destiny you were born to walk in. God is not in the business of partial transformation. When he pours favor, he does not just sprinkle it on one corner of your life. He saturates the ground. He begins with the unseen, your heart, your thoughts, your inner foundation, and then moves outward to the seen. His favor may start as a sense of deep peace in the middle of chaos, long before it shows up in your bank account, and often that peace is the favor. Peace is the first sign that God is touching your life, not just calm circumstances, but a supernatural assurance that no matter what comes, you are held. This kind of peace is priceless. It allows you to walk through storms and not be shaken. It allows you to smile when others expect you to break. It quiets the voices of fear and gives your spirit rest. God's favor gives you the ability to sleep through the storm, just like Jesus did on the boat, because you know who holds the water. But the favor of God doesn't stop there. It increases your influence, not for your ego, but for his purpose. Suddenly, people begin to listen. Opportunities arise. Your words carry more weight. Your actions inspire others. You don't even have to push for attention. God brings the right eyes and ears to your life. That's favor. Not manipulation, not chasing platforms, but being positioned by God in such a way that your life becomes a message. Think of Joseph. God's favor didn't just elevate him to manage a nation, it preserved a generation. His wisdom became essential to Pharaoh. His voice carried authority in rooms of power. But Joseph's favor didn't begin in the palace. It started in the prison, in his private integrity, in his dreams that refused to die. And when the time came, God didn't just change his clothes. He changed the world through him. The favor of God also redeems your relationships. It brings reconciliation where there was once pain. It removes toxic attachments and replaces them with divine connections. People who once overlooked you begin to honor you, not because you demanded it, but because God has placed something undeniable on your life. The ones who once rejected you are now drawn to the fruit they once mocked. That's how God works. His favor shifts human hearts and turns tables. And ultimately, favor aligns you with your destiny. You begin to feel a deep sense of direction, like the pieces of your life are finally making sense. The delays that once confused you now reveal their purpose. The detours become clear. The pain becomes fuel. Favor pulls you into the exact place you were designed to occupy, not by striving, but by surrender. You're no longer chasing success, you're walking in your assignment. So don't reduce God's favor to a financial blessing. His favor is your restoration, your stability, your voice, your legacy. It is the quiet force that rearranges your life from the inside out until you reflect the glory He placed on you before you were even born. This is the kind of shift that transforms everything. This shift will provoke envy, but also bring clarity about who you are in God. The favor of God doesn't just bless you, it exposes you. When God begins to elevate your life, not everyone will rejoice. In fact, some will be irritated. Some will become distant. Some will question why it happened to you and not to them. This is one of the strangest realities about favor. While it is a gift from heaven, it often stirs discomfort on earth. The shift God is bringing to your life will provoke envy. But in the same breath, it will bring unshakable clarity about who you are in Him. Envy is not just born out of hatred, it is born out of comparison. People who once saw you as equal now view you as a threat, not because you changed, but because God's light on your life reveals the shadows in theirs. Favor shines, it draws attention. And that attention, while divinely orchestrated, doesn't always bring applause. It can bring tension. But here's the good news. What was meant to distract you will actually confirm your identity. Think about Jesus. He healed the sick, raised the dead, spoke with wisdom, and yet He was envied, rejected, and hated by many. Why? Because favor disturbs systems. It challenges pride. It threatens the status quo. And the more Jesus walked in divine authority, the more the religious leaders became unsettled. They couldn't deny His power, so they attacked His position. That same pattern happens today. When God begins to highlight your life, the insecure will question your worth. But don't shrink back. Don't try to hide what God is doing just to make others comfortable. This favor isn't pride, it's purpose. You didn't earn it. You didn't demand it. You were simply faithful, and heaven responded. The same people who envy you now weren't there when you were crying in the dark, holding on to faith when you had nothing left. They weren't there for the pain that planted the harvest, so don't let their opinions shake your posture. Because as favor reveals the envy of others, it also does something more important. It reveals your identity in God. It confirms your calling. It sharpens your awareness of who you are, not in your own eyes, but in God's. When God begins to lift you, He isn't just changing your circumstances, He's reinforcing your value. Every blessing, every open door, every supernatural shift, it's all a divine affirmation. You are chosen, you are covered, you are His. This clarity is powerful. It allows you to move through life with confidence, not arrogance, but quiet assurance. You no longer need validation from others because heaven has already endorsed you. You no longer chase approval because God has already called you worthy. You're no longer tossed by the opinions of people because your foundation is rooted in divine truth. And ironically, this confidence often deepens your humility. Because the more you understand that your favor came from God, the more you walk with gratitude. The envy of others cannot disturb someone whose identity is settled in Christ. You stop defending yourself. You stop trying to explain the shift. You let your fruit speak. So yes, this favor will provoke envy, but let it. Because it's also doing something deeper. It's anchoring your identity. It's separating the shallow from the sacred. It's showing you who truly supports you, and more importantly, reminding you that your worth was never defined by who stayed or who clapped. It was always defined by the one who called you his own. So here you are, standing on the edge of something sacred. The world around you may still look the same. The routine, the responsibilities, the faces. They may not have changed, but within you, the shift has already begun. Heaven has spoken over your life, and the favor of God is now flowing in ways that will soon be seen in every direction. This favor is not fleeting. It is not shallow. It is not a quick reward for temporary goodness. It is a movement of divine intention, crafted by the hands of the Eternal, drawn by your silent faithfulness, and poured out by His perfect mercy. It is the kind of favor that changes bloodlines. It corrects wrongs. It gives where there were only ruins. It doesn't just give you things. It gives you understanding, identity, authority. You'll walk differently after this, not because of pride, but because of perspective. You'll speak with more clarity, not because you know everything, but because you know Him. You'll make decisions from wisdom, not from fear. And above all, you'll rest in the knowledge that God has not only seen your tears and your trials, He has honored them. He has remembered you. And now He is rewarding you, not for being perfect, but for staying faithful, for not quitting in the wilderness, for choosing His will when yours was breaking, for trusting when it hurt, and for loving Him when you had every reason to walk away. This is your moment, not because you demanded it, but because God declared it. The favor He is pouring on your life will cause a massive shift, and when it happens, when the ground beneath you trembles with His movement, when the doors swing open wide, when the very atmosphere around you begins to change, remember this. It was always Him, it was always grace, it was always yours. And now, it's time.